Taylor from HandBookTubes, and today is Fated Mates. Fated Mates I'm going to play with a little bit because sometimes you have just they found their mate, sometimes you have it's fated, it's an instantaneous recognition that this is my mate, and there are a lot of different ways to do it. There are ways where you have this mystical, unbreakable bond. You can have where you can lend your strength, you can have where a mate is necessary for happiness, you can have where you can't find sexual release with anybody but your mate. So obviously very common in paranormal romance and somewhat in fantasy romance, and it's just really a fun concept. It allows for a lot less angst in a lot of cases, and also you just have the idea that there's that perfect someone that was made for you specifically, and that you don't have to wonder if you found the right one because you have the mate connection. I recommend a lot of romances based on subgenre, trope, a specific theme. So if you want romance recommendations, please subscribe. I would love to hear your thoughts on the many recommendations that I do. So one of the most popular authors for Fated Mates is J Maas. She does this really well, I think. There are Fated Mates in the ACOTAR series, The Court of Thorns and Roses, as well as Throne of Glass. And not every character gets their own Fated Mate, but Fated Mates are present. And then you have a House of Earth and Blood, which is Crescent City #1. We don't have a Fated Mate in that yet, and I'm quite curious to see what happens with that. If you come because you like my taste and you wonder if you would like J Maas, I would say probably yes, because I did love it. I also have Suzanne Wright. She writes so many fantastic paranormal romances. She has 3 interconnected, slightly shifter series. We have Feral Sins, which is the first one in the Phoenix Pack. This is 2 very alpha werewolves. The female is an alpha with a latent wolf, so she can't actually turn into her wolf. That keeps her from being able to be the alpha of her own pack because she needs to be able to fight challenges in wolf form, and so her father is going to send her off in an alliance to a very abusive alpha. And then our hero, Trey, needs alliances. He needs something to help protect his pack because he is a slightly feral wolf, and so not very many people trust him, and he knows that trouble is coming. And so they decide to have a fake mating connection, because when you find your true mate, you have true mates and you have imprinted mates in this world and series. So you might find your true mate and they would be perfect, but also you might not, and you might find somebody that you want to imprint on and have them mating that way. It can be just as great as a true mating connection. But they decided to fake a true mate connection because that claim would supersede her father sending her off in this alliance and this marriage of convenience. And it's so much fun. Very sarcastic. Great banter between the 2 alphas, great sexy times between the 2 alphas trying to dominate everything, and it's just very fun. There are many different types of shifters in these series, and I really enjoy them. She also has Fern, which is a Dark and You series. These are demons, and it's an urban fantasy setting. Harper is a demon who is slightly unique, and she ends up mating and being the psychic anchor for the most powerful demon in the world named Nox. He is a businessman, but also a demon, but also a ridiculously powerful demon, and it's very clever. She also has the vampires in the Deep in Your Vein series, the Deep in You series. The first one is Here Be Sexist Vampires, and that is a unique take on vampires also, and yeah, she just writes really great alphas and fated mates. Then I have Nikki Clark. I loved her novella that is Taste the Vampire Quickie. And this is a 83-page book that was fantastic. It was a great, unique take on vampires. So this vampire is 200 years old and has never been able to reach completion as a vampire. And so she wants to create a vampire so that she's not alone anymore. And then this perfect man shows up and things are happening. And it's so great. It's so fantastic. I'm a big fan. And very smutty, very history-filled, very unique take on the paranormal aspects. Just really enjoyed it. You have Lauren Donner with the New Species series. This is a really great series if you like shifters, even though these aren't shifters. So New Species is basically a breed that was created by a evil corporation that was being run by the government, and they created new species with strains of animals and human DNA, and they were used as medical test subjects and were kept in captivity and were horribly treated with forced mating, not in the that's my mate, but in the sexual activity in order to try and procreate, because they wanted more new species in order to have more test subjects. The first book, the main character is a human who works there and knows what's going on and risks everything to expose them. Once it is exposed, the government kind of has to make amends. And so to give them reparations, they give them their own territory almost in the US, where they would have sovereignty and diplomatic immunity and all of the things. It's really quite interesting because that's not really how we treat people who we wrong here in America, but at the same time, this is the storyline. And so the new species, the males specifically, are the ones who end up with the mates, and they have a lot of animalistic traits, and they're different, and they mate for life, and they will do anything for their woman, which is really the appeal. And there's an overarching plot. There's like 14 books in the series. I've read all of them, really enjoyed them a ton. Some of the best alphas. Then I have The Sacrifice, which is Seven Sins MC by Jessica Gaziella. This is a witch and a demon, a literal demon, motorcycle club romance, and the witch is the sacrifice. The witches send a sacrifice one every generation to the demons to maintain their treaty, and they don't know what happens to the sacrifice after she is sent. The sacrifice gets there and she is making it rain, and the demons need dry, hot atmosphere, and so they are willing to do anything to make her stop, and that includes giving into some of her demands. And she finds her mate, and it is lovely. Next I have Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. This is an alien romance with fated mates. They have a QD type thing, which is a symbiotic relationship with a organism on this ice planet that allows them to breathe the air without the toxicity. So you have to have one, and it also recognizes your mate. Now the mate is kind of evolutionary based on the idea that this is the person that would be best to procreate with. However, there is instant love too. In the first book, there is a language barrier and a communication issue because they don't speak each other's languages, and there is a trigger. Basically, these human women are kidnapped by bad aliens. The bad aliens crash land after abusing some of them, and then they're on this ice planet with the good aliens who are tall and blue and horned and tails and will do anything for their mates. If you think that that sounds crazy, I was right there with you. I'm telling you, you should give the series a try. You would be surprised at the amount of people that has changed their mind. I have Elder Races by Thea Harrison. This is a urban fantasy romance series, and this is all fated mates. The first one is about a dragon shifter. He's the only dragon shifter in the world, and he's the most powerful. And he is also like the lord of the shifters, and he has a horde, as dragons do, and he finds a note from a thief who stole from his horde, and he cannot believe the audacity. He cannot believe that she got away with it. He cannot believe that she left this note. And so he tracks her down, and it turns out that it is his fated mate. She is a unique shifter in and of herself, which is a very cool reveal in the book. And then the other books are his sentinels, which are kind of like his inner circle, who all get their own love stories with different legendary elder races species. So there are fae, harpies, gargoyles, there are vampires, there's an oracle, there's a lot of different paranormals throughout the series that are really fun to read about. And I have Until the Sun Falls from the Sky by Kristen Ashley. This is book number 1 in the 3 series. This is a vampire romance, and then the second book is a shifter romance. And this girl is a vampire consort, basically, and it's her turn to be chosen, and this vampire has basically waited since she was tiny for her and wants to make her his mate, but mates are actually forbidden. And lastly, I have my very favorite series currently, and that is the Blood Alliance series by Lexi C. Foss. The first one is Chastely Bitten. This is a vampire romance with a blood virgin. There is no consent in these books because humans are viewed as food. The entire world is brutal. Even when you have a good person, they're working within the confines of the social structure and are also not human typically, and so they don't think like humans, they don't act like humans, and they don't have the mercy of humans. Just a fascinating smutty tale of people finding love within a very brutal world while trying to overthrow the current ruling government, which is quite interesting. I can read Fated Mates like every other book. I love them. They are so fun, and I would love to hear any of your recommendations. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.